Hey, it's good to see you, Nick, and it's good to be seen in these turbulent times. It's good to be seen alive.
Exactly. I want to turn on everybody who's watching to you and your music.
Came in 1990, hustling, sleeping on the streets, taking a shower at Venice Beach. 2 years into my landing there, I ran the Prince's manager. They told me I was a genius. I believed it. I bought it. And they was like, we're going to get you a deal. By 94, I had a deal with Interscope Records. It's like, at that time, the biggest record deal ever in the history of music. All the hype so that I could fail, basically.
Well, that was a massive label back then. I mean, still is, yeah. I guess. But back then, they were renowned for putting out a lot of music artists that were challenging. From 9 Inch Nails to Dr. Dre.
Exactly.
And Jimmy Iovine, who is the guy behind Interscope Records, obviously, then went on to, with Dre, of course, found Beats, and now he's in Apple Music, all that stuff. When you got that deal, did you really think, well, that's it, here we go, let's go?
Absolutely. And I was a young kid, I was young and beautiful, and I could play. So yeah, I thought this is it. I'm in LA, and it's like the land of make believe. So I went right. I thought it was amazing.
So what kind of music were you making back then?
What I make now. No, I don't know. It's just I was making what I wanted to make, and that was always what I was driven by. And it was like more R&B driven, but it still wasn't R&B because R&B people looked at me and said, "No, we don't get it." So I was always living in some other universe, and he took a chance on me. That changed my life. Having that kind of a financial backing.
but when you were sort of right at that moment where you thought everything was going to happen for you, something happened that you could never have seen. Obviously,
right?
You had a terrible accident. Yeah.
Well, what happened is, so from '94, I'm just stuck on Interscope. I put out one album, and I'm like the kind of, you've heard this cliche, I'm sitting on the shelf, and I'm just toiling in obscurity. And strangely enough, one of the most near tragic, horrific things brought me out of that circumstance, which was a near fatal accident, which left me in a coma 3 weeks and took away my playing hand. And this is what's left of my playing hand. I call it the claw. It's the claw. The claw, But I had to learn how to play again because I can't really move it, and so it was actually tragic. And you're waking up, and one night I'm partying in the Hollywood Hills at a party with beautiful women and all kinds of drugs that I was not using.
Officer.
Yeah, no, I was not using X, and then the next moment I wake up. And a nurse says to me in an accent, which later I learned was Filipino, she's like, "You've been in a very terrible accident." So I was like, wow, this is a foreign accent. I'm laying here and I can't move. And I'd been intubated for 3 weeks, and I thought I was like America. We'd gone to war, and, it was kind of pretty xenophobic of me, actually. MAGA would love this right now. I thought I thought there must be a war. What happened here? And so it was really traumatic. And it took me a few days to kind of accept and realize that the predicament that I was in. But, I was always an optimist. I mean, I remember just laying there in the bed, like kind of moving my toes, like, okay, now we're rehabbing right now. Move your fingers, move your toes. So, but it was both tragic, traumatic, but also a great gift.
So what year was that, the accident?
That was in '99. So yeah.
Okay, so
5 years.
So you went away for a while.
I started a family. I was living on a farm, successful marijuana cultivator, and then I had a little baby boy. And that changed everything for me, because I remember one day not being able to soothe him and get him to calm down and try to take a nap. And I just happened to find a guitar underneath a couch in my house that I hadn't sold, because I sold all of my equipment, and it was a magical day because that day, the minute I played that G major, that kid's face lit up the world. I got chills down my spine. I got choked up. I got scared. All these emotions came, and I thought, wow, I haven't been playing music in 5 years, and here it is that music is the language of humanity. This kid is reacting to these strings resonating with this wood at this time. And that began a slow walk back to being about 2014, which is Fantastic Negrito. I come up with the concept, I'm playing this stuff, and people, a lot of, we're like, I don't really get it. Like, you want to do like kind of this blues-based music, but it's not really blues. And I'm like, well, I feel this. Well, it's not soul. Well, it's not rock. Well, it's not R&B. And it's too funky to be blues, but it's too blues to be rock. I heard all this stuff. And then the last thing I heard was like, you're like 40 something now, man. Nobody cares. Man, there's so many people who told me that I was wasting my time, wasting my hard-earned marijuana profits on pushing this idea of being Fantastic Negrito. Nobody wanted to hear it. So what did I do? I went to the people. Man. I just set up at train stations, coffee shops, donut shops, anywhere there was people, man. I started playing my message of Fantastic Negrito, what I called Black roots music, which was picking from that amazing garden of the history that we have and the legacy that we have in this country of what I like to call Black roots music. And it was 2015 came, and someone was like, hey man, you want to enter the NPR Tiny Desk contest? And I was like, what's that? I honestly had never heard of it.
Lost in a crowd, you feel your thoughts out loud. Lost in the wilderness of the sound. Get through the day, don't drown. Life, it goes fast, youth is gone. Feelings of loss, come on, grieve, move on. Stuck in the shadows of a life that you try to leave behind.
So when I was writing that album, I was in Oakland touring, I was in New Orleans, I was in DC, and I was noticing that all these cities had changed. Like people that were born in San Francisco, their hometown, guess what? You may not be able to live in San Francisco anymore just because of the disparity between wages and renting. I thought New Orleans, the same thing, man. These places had changed. And I remember I was sitting in a cafe in New Orleans when I wrote down The Last Days of Oakland. Boom, that's my concept. And so I started crafting songs around the ideas of like, racial justice, social justice, gentrification, all these issues that were just extremely interesting to me. So that was great. That first EP, like, just kind of opened things up for me. And people got to feel the sense of urgency, the rawness, the realness, kind of the street performing Fantastic Negrito.
So the album was The Last Days of Oakland. And
the album was The Last Days of Oakland.
Right. And it went on to win a Grammy. I mean,
it did. Shocking. I'm shocked again.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't believe it. When I'm writing my albums, people may be shocked to know this, but I'm really talking to my kids and your kids and my neighbor's kids. I have this thing about talking to children because I had so many pitfalls growing up. So when I was making The Last Days of Oakland, first it was people were like, what, The Last Days of Oakland? What do you mean? Hipsters were outraged, like, what are you talking about, The Last Days of Oakland? But I mean, I wanted to write what was going on around me. I like with my albums to just kind of get my finger, put it on the pulse and just feel it. I think I got really inspired in the world when people would come up to me and literally say, what is going on in America? In those accents, tell me what is happening. People were really freaked out. And so I just said, hey, the power of the pen, the power of the instrument, let's go write another album.
American Bill will wreck and kill. American Bill will wreck and kill. Oh, man, ripping in a twitching hand.
that album ends up winning a Grammy.
I was going to say, go figure, because you won another Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues Album.
The Grammys have shocked me twice.
So let's bring it up to date with the new album that's coming in August, I think, right?
Yes.
And let's talk about the moment catching up with you, as you just sort of alluded to. We're talking in June of 2020, and in the last couple of weeks in the United States in particular, obviously, and around the world by extension, there seems to have been a shift. There seems to have been an acknowledgement that things are just not right. In the US, obviously, for Black people, for people of color, for minorities.
Right.
How does the work that you've been doing on the new album tie into this moment?
Well, it's interesting. I want to just add to that they're not right for white people either. They're not right for any of us, because ultimately, like, we're a family here, I hope. And, the whole idea of white supremacy doesn't work for white people either. They don't get anything from it. If they got something amazing, I'd be like, wow, may not work for me, but I see how it works for you. So I wanted to include our white brothers and sisters.
That's
because
I don't distinction.
Yeah, I don't want this to, the thing is, being an older guy, is like, I see this thing happening, and it's like, we can't become a society of extremes. It's like, we're way over here, now let's go way over here. We gotta get right there in that middle ground, so that we can include everyone, and we can all heal, and we can all become very self-aware and self-conscious, and we can listen to each other, and we can have conversations, not accusations, not witch hunts. Because if we do that, this whole thing's gonna backfire on us. So I just want to throw that in there.
I'm glad.
Okay. All right. So what was the question? The new album.
I'm happy this morning. I'm happy this morning. I'm happy this morning. I'm happy this morning. Oh, I'm so happy I cry. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
So I got to the third album, and I just had to be honest. Like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? I wanted to kind of expand. I wanted to write about people that I knew this time. The Last Days Oakland, I wrote about these broad topics, man. Gentrification, social justice, disparity in wage earnings. And it's this big, raging against this monster. The second album was like, take on the proliferation of guns and the proliferation of pharmaceutical drugs and corporate slavery. Rage against them. You big devil, big concepts. But this album, Have You Lost Your Mind Yet? I wanted to write secretly about people that were around me. And I wasn't going to tell them I was writing about them, and it had to do with mental health. Not the obvious mental health that I'm looking at right now in West Oakland, where someone's talking to themselves. That's easy. Like, oh yeah, they're talking to themselves, they're messed up, we feel bad. But I mean the mental health of this machine that's grinding us every single day. This mass corporate media that's telling us what slogans to say, lots of slogans, what banners to wave, what opinions to have, and how we should think, and how we should feel. A lot of times on social media, you listen to them and you're like, wow, that's exactly what Fox News said. That's not your independent thought. Wow, that's exactly CNBC that you're saying. And it's like, I feel like with this so much stuff coming at us every day, I thought, wow, how's that affecting our mental health? How is that affecting our anxiety levels? How's that affecting how we feel towards each other as human beings? Are we even looking at each other? Or are we screaming at each other? And what does that do to us as people? What does that do to watch? Man, I'm still tripping off Sandy Hook. I'm still tripping off Sandy Hook. Those were little kids. So what have we become? Like, who have we become that we just accept this now? Like, oh, drinking some water. Oh yeah, 25 people were killed over there. Cool, all right. Hey, let me check my Instagram followers. It's like, it just become so casual. And I'm like, what has that done to us? Like, who are we? Like, as human beings, when are we going to start tapping into what humanity is? Or are we unable to because of all these gadgets and all these cool gadgets? And we're like this. We're like this. We're walking down the street and we're like this. And we're like this and we're like this. And there's all these information that, and you can find out the capital of Uzbekistan in 5 seconds. But can you tell me anything about Uzbekistan? Can you talk to me about the people, the culture, the food? So I just felt like, have you lost your mind yet?
That's
have
the album
we lost our mind yet?
Have you lost your mind yet?
We have to kind of get back in touch with being a human being. So I was looking at each one of my friends and what I thought about their state of mind, their mental health, and how the society that we lived in with all of its challenges, how did it and how is it affecting them? And it was the hardest record that I ever made, because suddenly there was this human, personal aspect of how I was writing and crafting each individual song, and how it related to my friends and managers and associates. So it was very interesting, man, to delve into that. Songs like Chocolate Samurai, which were right on time because we were in a quarantine. And the opening lyric is, "Have you lost your mind yet? Get free tonight." It's a very Stevie Wonder influenced track. And yeah, that was interesting to make, to come out with that when we're right in the middle of it, Chocolate Samurai.
When do you think you might be able to get out and play it? Because right now, you're not going to be touring the world anytime soon, I don't think.
Well, for me, I'm like, it's just like, hey, everything that we thought in this pre-COVID-19 world, yeah, throw that out. Now we're in post-COVID-19 world, and you got to get out and play it differently. I get out and play it in the space that I am. The first video that I made, Chocolate Samurai, of course, I outsourced to everybody in the entire world, man. I had videos coming in from, I think it's called crowdsource. I'm getting mixed up with my terms. But yeah, like England, France, Germany, Spain, South Africa, Korea, Japan, New Zealand, people sending their videos. And I was able to work by compiling all this footage and getting everybody in the world involved in an amazing crowdsourced video called Chocolate Samurai. So I feel like, hey, I'm getting out and I'm playing. Hey, I'm connecting with the global audience and getting them involved in this amazing video for this song. And another way of doing it is, setting right up here, amazing little space. It's really a storefront. This used to be a really horrible liquor store when I was a kid. And so you set up here, break out the iPhones. We just did, we did Steve Colbert. Why? Because we were able to shoot here with iPhones. So yeah, we're getting out and playing in a very different way, but it's still getting out and playing, working with what we got, as Grandma used to say.
So let me wrap this up by asking you one last question, and it kind of ties into the first time that I met you, the first interview that I did with you. It was like a pop quiz, and we had 21 questions. I don't know if you remember or not, but
I do remember.
But right at the end, my last question to you was, after talking for the last half an hour, what's your state of mind? And you said to me at the time, Nick, I'm fucked up, but I know it, and I'm working on it.
That sounds like me.
So 5 years later, what's your current state of mind?
I'm fucked up. I know it. And I've been working on it, and I want to tell you something, man. I've made so much progress. And why did I make that progress? Sure, I've done 3 social commentary albums, but I made the progress because I realized that, Nick, I can't do it alone. I realized that I needed people. So one thing I've learned in this whole journey of being Fantastic Negrito is that, man, I need people, and I need to hear people. I need people to hear me. It does, even if we disagree with each other. I really need that to happen. And I think as turbulent, as polarized as we are right now, the most important thing that we can do is listen to each other and make that realization that we need each other, that we're only in a united coalition of what I call the tribe with love in their hearts. I love that. That's my tribe. That's the side that I'm on. The tribe with love in their hearts. And we need to, get united and fight valiantly against, the opposition, which is the forces of divisiveness and evil. So that's where I am now. I feel like the work that I've done, it's made a great impact on myself and the people around me. It's because I realized that I needed them, and I'm very happy.
It's great talking to you, man. Can you just stick around?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's Fantastic Negrito.